Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and I'm just sitting here in my robe drinking my morning coffee looking sexy as hell as usual. And for those of you who say I don't look sexy as hell when I do these videos in my robe, nobody cares what you think. I didn't ask you shit. Now the video I did the other day discussing mental masturbation in the fitness world, it's got a bit of attention. I've had a few people publicly address it. I've had some people ask me questions about it, and let me clarify something there. Yes, I agree that there is a problem with anti-intellectualism in the fitness world, but I also think that there can be an issue as far as translating information down to the layman, in the sense that people need to realize that incorrect application or inefficient use of the academic material is how we get all the bro science problems that we have. And the problem that we run into is that a lot of the experts, the personal trainers, the gurus are themselves actually laymen who work with this in the real world. They're not academics. They haven't read all the data. They don't have a complete picture of it. And the problem is that what they run into is that when those individuals have too large of a pool of information that they're pulling from that they don't fully understand, and they don't understand how to apply it correctly, we end up with tons and tons of bro science. And so accordingly, my own approach that I've always used when I put out information, I do try to include a fair amount of science in there, but rather than push out excessive amounts of useless information, and when I say useless, I don't mean useless in an academic sense or in a general knowledge sense, because all information, all knowledge is power. It is important for someone who really wants to have knowledge to obtain as much as they possibly can, and even general science studies things that we don't have a practical application for yet, but we might in 50 years, so let's get the data now. It's never a bad approach. It's never a bad thing to have too much information. The issue that we run into, though, when we're dealing with an applied science, or in this case, it's just applied in the real world, the case of lifting weights and basic nutrition for people trying to get into shape, better body composition, athletes, bodybuilders, whatever, we need to have a pragmatic approach, meaning those people have other careers and lives and jobs and professions or even areas of academic study outside of those areas that they have to focus on. They do not have the time and the background knowledge to pick through the large amounts of data when it is provided to them to determine what's useful. What we really need to focus on when we're putting out information to that part of the public, unless they're specifically wanting to go get academic information, in which case they'll probably go read a textbook, or they'll take an exercise science course, or 2 or 3 or 10. At a local university or even a community college on their own. They'll gather their own information that way if they really want the true academic knowledge. And I would encourage them to do so. I think anyone who really wants to train and make it a serious commitment or part of their life or compete should take a few exercise science courses and a basic anatomy and physiology course. I think that would be a good thing. The problem is that most people, though, they're wanting to get results. And accordingly, what they need more than anything are the people who, rather than provide them with too much information for them to try to pour through and figure anything out, it is often necessary for us to condense it down and essentially spoon feed it. And rather than take the whole host of the information, pick out what is useful without addressing all the rest of it. Pick out what parts of it, from being completely pragmatic, what is practical, what is going to help them, what isn't. If something isn't going to be useful to the majority of your audience and the people you're talking to, it doesn't need to be included other than as a side note. We don't need to go into an in-depth discussion because it's not going to help those people. People who are generally watching YouTube, watching my videos, other people's videos, they're just looking for the useful information that's going to help them reach their goals. They want to put 50 pounds on their bench press. They want to put an inch on their arms. They want to put 100 pounds on their squat. They don't care how they get there or how the knowledge is distributed. They just want to know how to do that. And they want to know how to do so safely and without injuring themselves. And they want to do so as quickly as possible. So in that case, the information needs to be condensed down to what's pragmatic, what's useful, what's going to help them reach their goals. And that's what I try to do. And I think that gets branded sometimes. Some people do look at that and think that I am being anti-intellectual, and I'm really not. I'm simply trying to take the available data that's there that is way, way too much for the average layperson to ever sort through. They simply don't have the time, and try to pick out what is going to be the most useful to them and give that to them simplified and put into a methodology that they can actually use. And that is what I try to do with videos like that. A lot of this stuff is interesting from an academic perspective, but it may not translate into anything directly useful to the people listening. And oftentimes the people putting out the information may think it is, but it really isn't. All right, guys, well, that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.